Alrighty. So, I just finished the final episode of Season 2 of Being a Dick, Crossroads, I think it was called. I guess the crossroads in question in the aforementioned crossroad refers to what seems like the finalized route selection for the romance paths, which is kind of weird at this stage in the game, since I'm presuming dude said that we're only like halfway through the narrative, so interesting. As well as the ending cliffhanger implying multiple character routes, colliding in the near future. I guess, Jill starts interacting more with Maya and Josie in this one, and a minor point, even, some of the preps show up at a dorm party in the middle of the episode. If you don't know shit about Being a Dick, first off, fix that. This game is absolutely great. I can't recommend it enough. And secondly, I'll try to frame this in a way that you can understand from basic storytelling concepts. This episode was long as fuck, but I have a hard time remembering what all happened. If I didn't go through it multiple times, doing the different routes and refreshing myself on the occurrences. It wasn't like a big, through line like some other episodes where Hothead is the episode I probably recall most accurately because it's very contained. It's very restrictive in what happens in it. It takes place over the weekend after Hell Week, where the fraternities are throwing parties to celebrate their new recruits. Kathy is freaking out about the next week and the bullying she's going to receive from the students. Rusty is freaking out about that. There's introspective scenes with many of the characters like Derek. You see a lot of backstory for the Dix fraternity and Rusty. The mansion is trash. Tremolo stakes his position in the Dix. It's like a nice, clean episode where everything flows well and falls under the same through line. In the newest episode, let's see. A lot of the scenes are route-specific, and I don't even know what happens if you fail to have enough money to pay for the windows for the mansion reconstruction minigame thing. Surprisingly, not much happens with Chad and Troy. In fact, pretty much everything that I thought was going to happen in this episode wasn't actually a huge focus. We didn't get the Halloween party yet. Chad and Troy haven't taken center stage in the drama at all. Lily hasn't taken center stage like I'm waiting for. Vinny hasn't made much of a play. Riona hasn't had a major falling out with Quinn. It kind of feels like BoJack Horseman where you just keep adding more and more problems that don't get resolved, but you know that they'll all have to come back up eventually. You just don't know when. But yeah, I expected some big shit to go down for the season finale, but not a lot sticks out in my mind. Midterms happened, and depending on your choices, some concerning stuff with Jade. I guess we resolved one conflict with the guy that was stalking Rio over the past couple episodes, which isn't like a major event or anything. I can never tell what is building up to be like a big serious deal or what will just be a minor hiccup later, I feel that at any moment, Lily or Quinn or someone else will just make some gigantic power play and take over the whole fucking school like Gary from Bully. I think most of the episode consisted of more slight progressions down each of these side stories, / the under-the-radar main story beats, and a lot of the romance scenes with, various main girl routes. Now, I want to make it clear, this episode was great. I loved almost everything in it, and the experience was still, some of the most fun I've gotten from any game this year. However, when I'm looking at it from a macro level, I think I have some complaints here, this time. I don't think I really dig the way that the romantic scenes are handled in this episode and more recently in general. Specifically because I feel like the characters aren't bonding or relating anymore in a nuanced way. Once the relationship is already established and solidified, they just continue to date and be romantic, I get. But not even in, a way that, it's a little dull in retrospect. I don't think I learned much about any of the main girls in this episode that I didn't already know or couldn't have already figured out. And there's scenes with Tremolo, since they're already established as a couple, they aren't learning new things about each other, having casual or compelling conversations. We aren't watching movies with Maya anymore or talking about, foreign cultures that are cool, or where you want to travel in the future. I don't know, just anything to provide, like, flavored nuance to the interactions and, like, develop them more as people. The characters just like each other and express that they like each other to each other, and that's most of what happens. And I'm not saying that the dialogue sucks or anything, but just, I think the main relationships hit a point where they aren't, like, getting more compelling. They're sitting in this, like, stagnant place where the relationship is just, like, normal and, like, ongoing, and it's not the most interesting thing to watch. Even Jill and Tremolo, finally on their route have sex at the end of this episode, and it felt like basically any other sex scene in the game, even though it should be kind of a major turning point for Jill's character. But, like, they've done these kind of sex scenes that feel narratively meaningful to the relationship between the characters, like the ones for Bella or Quinn from, like, what was it, episode 6 or 7? I forget. I think 6. In this episode, each main route had, like, 1 or 2 associated, like, cute romance scenes and sex scenes, and I think they're all fairly forgettable. This isn't really anything new. I've liked the side characters much more than I've liked the main girls for quite a while now, as I've expressed in my last video on being a dick. The main girls just don't, like, they don't talk about or do interesting things, because it's like they're taken too seriously. Like, every scene with them has to be directly romantic, or, like, directly expressing, like, clearly defined character arcs or so on, where the like, with characters like Riona, you get these actually charming moments where she, like, tries to pull a prank on Tremolo by fucking with the furniture in his room, but then when he doesn't clean it up, her OCD can't take it, and she goes back into his room to fix everything that she moved. I feel like every scene with the side character was compelling and charming and great, and every main romance scene was just, like, kinda cute to meh. Even just any little thing going on in one of the main girls' lives, like they have some school project to work on, or they set up a fucking podcast, or they go to a local concert, or they want to fucking fly to EVO and go 0-2 in their bracket, or they get into cooking, or just, like, anything separate from the main story, or just their personal relationship with Tremolo. Can we learn more about their views or interests, or have, like, an outside life or things like that? Those are the interactions that make characters feel charming and interesting, and, like, you want to keep getting more of that stuff with the character. Watching two characters just like each other back and forth is pretty dull. The only other scene I liked, for instance, with a main girl is the gym with Josie, and that scene is extremely short before it turns into, like, romance and sex. We only get a few charming and casual likes where they talk about the differences between, like, defined muscles and such. Whatever. Main girls are out. Fucking Lily and Riona are in. Oh, also, randomly dropped near the beginning of the episode. Only going through it to double check what happened. I almost forgot. We got a fucking Kingdom Hearts 3 mystery box just sitting on his desk. We have a trick box. Tremolo can't open it. I don't know where he got it. I have no idea if this matters or not, but it was part of the main story. You had to see that scene to progress that part of the story, so... What the no idea, not a clue if this is relevant at all. Yeah, I love these characters, love the side characters, I love Derek Bailey. We learned his last name, finally, only Derek. Only he is allowed to be blessed with a last name in this game because he's such a fucking god-tier being. They knew we had to have something to refer to him by that's more specific than just Derek, you know? So he is now Derek Bailey. I love him as my son. I love Tybalt. The scene where Jill screams at him and he actually starts crying was great. I wanted to give the poor douchebag incel a hug. Oh, he's fucking awesome. I love the running joke in this episode about Tremolo's TV only showing hotel channels and everyone hates it. This game still has consistently great joke timing and framing, and a lot of small but impactful visual gags, like little facial expressions and reactions and such. Oh, actually, I just remembered a thing on another main girl route that I actually liked in this episode. Meeting Jill's group of personal friends on her route is actually a really good scene, and I liked it a lot. It is an expansive scene for her character, so, and just like the world in general. And Tremolo. I also love the scene you get with Derek on Maya and Josie's route. So, not actually a romance scene, so that it doesn't count, but you only get this scene on that route, but the reason why it's good is because it's just more of Derek. So it's automatically great. Same with the water park scene. Just because, like, it has Derek there, it is better than the other routes. I guess learning that Josie is afraid of heights is like a small little something, but it's not much. I want truly casual and human interactions where people talk about mundane shit, like music artists or anything. There was nothing I liked more in this episode with one of the girls than with Lily talking about how she's going to get into the medical field and get her degree, and she's gonna fucking look down on everyone who judged her before. That's great. The dorm party is great. It's all very entertaining. Every comedy scene hit. The gender studies midterm is a blast. It's just so goddamn good. What can I say? Except it's so much fun, and I just wanted more of it. I guess I did feel like this episode was spread thin with a lot of, like, side conflicts that I didn't get much from most of them. Like, I felt nothing from seeing Jamie interact with Danny and talking and giving him advice on that. I'm kind of disappointed in what we saw of Lily dealing with the other Pink Rose girls, because to me it kind of deconfirms her as one of the bigger threats in the narrative, since she doesn't seem to be on top of anything. If they're just progressing her plotline here without her making a big play, it seems like she's not on next level shit, you know? I hate that we got cucked in the first scene in the gym because this cool dude walks up to Tremolo and gives him some friendly advice, and I thought we were enlisting another best boy, but he doesn't actually show up again. Like, either no action was taken on any particular given conflict, or when there was action, it was kind of limp and unsatisfying because it didn't lead to much, like telling Sage about Chad, for example. So overall, this is not my favorite episode. The ending stinger, like the oh shit ending moment, it also didn't really hit for me. It's not that I knew the twist ahead of time, but like, they've always been so non-specific about most of the characters being related to each other. You know, like, they've never explicitly said that Tybalt is Jade's son and such, but you could obviously observe that at certain points. So I never assumed Jade's or Sage's parents were unrelated. I also find it weird that, like, why would you need to set up a special meeting to talk to your parents if it's just Jade and Stephen? Like, you can talk to them all the time. They go to campus every day. They aren't, like, distant billionaires that you need to arrange a private meeting to see. I find that a bit odd, and I don't think it's, like, that dramatic either, especially since I don't really care that much about what happens to Jade or Stephen. And honestly, I'm not super invested in this conflict as a whole, about needing to find another way to get the tuition, since the boundaries for this objective aren't clear. It's not that I don't care about the resolution of the conflict, but, like, the boundaries on what they can and cannot do are unclear, so it's not like a dramatic conflict anyways. Maya having to, like, if Maya were to have to confront her father or something, that's something I could, like, quantify in my head is what that would look like, and what the consequences of success or failure would be. Like, I would watch 5 episodes straight of watching Tremolo help Riona study and get better grades in her classes and, like, pick a major or something. I'm very excited for next episode or next season or whatever for Tremolo to start his science classes and for Tremolo to start exploring his own educational passions and figuring out what degree field he wants to go for and get more into science. I really am not compelled watching Maya and Josie improve their relationship. The only reason I like watching Jill deal with Tybalt is because Tybalt is hilarious and I love him. But regardless of these gripes, and my lack of attachment to certain things, the episode is still a ton of fun, beginning to end. Tremolo and Derek are extremely likable characters, so it works no matter what. Season 2 as a whole is, like, so much better than Season 1, and it's in just every way. The production value has gotten much better, the designs and the framing and the presentation are much better, the gags and humor, the pacing and content is much better, the humor's stomach pain ulcer inducing. Season 2 of Being a Dick is, at this current point, clearly my game of the year again, right? Also, it's not saying much since I haven't played that many games this year, but Being a Dick was my game of the year last year too, and that was competing against a shitload of other games I played in 2020. So yeah, and this season is even better than season 1, so it's good. Really, really good, sir.